Kiwi Ears is back at it again with another low-priced, awesome-sounding set. This is the Kiwi Ears Belle, priced at around $30 give or take, but definitely sounds like it should have been priced higher. In today's review, we'll go over sound signature, the way my ears hear them, without looking at any graphs. I'd also be giving my input on how it performed in gaming, and I also have to say that I'm very much surprised with its performance in this regard. Hi, I am Daniel with the Biboyharanero team. We have been reviewing keyboards, mice, and audio gear since 2019, so consider subscribing and be updated with our weekly uploads. Back to the Kiwi Ears Belle, this has a single dynamic driver sized at 10mm with a diamond-like carbon diaphragm. Its impedance is rated at 32 ohms, and it wasn't that difficult to drive it. Upon first try, it reminded me somewhat like the Singolo, which is my second favorite tuned Kiwi Ears set next to the Septet. It has much more coloration than the Singolo though, but not a lot that it sounds overly energetic. My ears hear a mild V-shaped tuning, with a good boost in both lows and highs, but without any drowned out frequencies. It's not a flat sounding IEM, and I would say that it is a balanced tuned IEM where there aren't any overly amplified frequencies. Let's go over build quality and comfort. The box contents is straightforward with the IEM, cable, 2 sets of ear tips with 3 pairs each, and documentation. The ear tips this comes with are a little bit too tall for me. I still got good seal though. Yet throughout my tests, I swapped out the ear tips with the wide bore tips because it felt more comfortable for my ears. The only downside I found with this is that it causes some pain points in the upper area of my ear. It took me a good few days of a few hours of use per day to get used to it. The housing isn't too big, so I think it would suit a lot of ears. However, the resin shell has a pointy area which causes the issue in my ear. Anyhow, this has a metal faceplate which looks very similar to the Aeroso, and it also has ventilation near the nozzle that's marked with a black circle, which I think is an internal damper, but I might be wrong. And speaking of the nozzle, I think it's a little bit too forward for me, so using tall ear tips may be a bit uncomfortable. It will depend on the ear though, but moving on to the cable, it's very flexible out of the box. Very simple with a transparent coating and silver coated internals. Overall, you get the quality for the price that you're paying for this unit, and aside from the initial comfort, I don't have any other complaints. So I already mentioned that my ears hear a mild V-shaped tuning that prioritizes detail over power. This set focuses more on clarity over energy, but I have to say that this is what my ears hear and may be different from what other people hear. Let's get into the specifics, and firstly, with the highs, it sounds very smooth and highly detailed without sounding harsh or peaky. I think this set would suit even treble-sensitive users as there is ample brightness to liven up any mixes that you play. Speaking of brightness, this has more of that versus warmth. As for the mids, they're very well tuned on this set because the vocals never get drowned out in the mix. I also never heard the mids competing with the highs, as vocals very well sit into the mix effortlessly. This doesn't sound nowhere near the Aeroso or the Canta, but those are hybrid or even tribrid IEMs. And let me remind you that this is only $30. So in terms of sound separation, it will deliver more than what you would expect from its price range, but definitely not at the level of most $100 IEMs. However, vocals do not sound shouty on this set and sounds very much present in the mix, regardless of how busy the instruments can get. The number one thing that I liked about this set is the boost around the 3 kHz, which not only improves vocal detail, but also enhances guitar solos. I listen to a lot of country music with a lot of guitar solos, and it sounds really good on this set. And returning to my point a while back, if I didn't know how much this was priced, I would guess that this is around $60. Now on to bass. My ears hear more of sub-bass than mid-bass, and that could also be because I'm using wide bore tips. But I also tested this with narrow bore tips, and my ears really do hear more of a rumble than a punch. But don't get me wrong, as this has punchy bass as well, that has really good texture, and I think it would suit a lot of genres, especially rhythm and blues. If you listen to a lot of Chris Brown's songs, this will do the job very well. Yet, I'm not sure I would advise a bass head to get this set, as again, the tuning on this set focuses on clarity over energy, detail over power. Now, even before I tested this out for music, right out of the box, I plugged it in and used it for gaming. And here's where I have a lot more positive comments regarding the Kiwi Ears Belle. Firstly, the lows never drown out the mids, regardless of how busy the environment gets. And what this means is that footsteps are very present and are never pushed back by bass. And when I'm shooting continuously and getting these punchy booms from my gun, I would still hear footsteps on the right, on the left, everywhere. And if you're asking whether this will perform in competitive scenarios, yes, 10 out of 10, this will. Then I also tried it out as a vocal monitor when I do my voiceover work, and I found that it is also very nicely tuned for this job. When I do my vocal monitoring, I easily get bothered by bass, as it affects the way I speak, and I find that I just modulate my voice unnaturally to compensate for the muddiness of a bassy tuned monitor. But I never felt that with the Kiwi Ears Belle. Thanks to its controlled bass response and then matched with wide bore tips, I get a really smooth decrease in the bass extension. And overall, I think this is a rare set that would do the job for everything, be it media consumption, gaming, or professional work. It's very easy to recommend this set even for beginners just starting out in the IEM hobby. And by the way, I would deem the tuning on this set as one that is very much similar to how Critical tunes his IEMs. So there's that. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section below. I will leave links in the description box on where to get your Kiwi Ears Belle. We'll see you guys again next time. Bye bye.